I didn't know if I was missing her or missing myself. I woke up every day feeling incomplete, but I couldn't tell what part of me was gone. Was it her absence, or the version of me that only existed when she was around? Everyone said time heals, but no one told me how to survive the waiting. Days kept moving, but I stayed behind. Healing felt like a promise meant for other people, not for someone still stuck between yesterday and today, not the gentle silence of peace, but the kind that settles in your chest and never really leaves. The kind that grows louder at night, when the world sleeps and memories refuse to. He was 6 years old when he first met it. The hospital corridor smelled sharp and clean, but his heart felt messy and confused. His small fingers were wrapped tightly around his father's coat, afraid that if he let go, something else would disappear too. His father knelt down in front of him, eyes red, hands shaking, voice barely holding itself together. "Your mother is very tired," he said. Ethan nodded. He didn't ask where she was going. He didn't ask when she would come back. Somehow he already knew. That night Ethan stood by the hospital window, pressing his forehead against the cold glass. The sky outside was full of stars, bright and careless, as if nothing bad had ever happened on Earth. "God," he whispered, his voice trembling, "if you're listening, please don't take her." The sky stayed silent. By morning, his mother was gone. After the funeral, their house felt different, smaller, quieter, like it had forgotten how to breathe. The walls seemed to lean in, the rooms echoing with things that were never said. His mother's shoes were still by the door. Her favorite cup still sat on the kitchen shelf. Everything was exactly where she left it except her. His father changed slowly, almost politely, as if grief didn't want to interrupt their lives too suddenly. He stopped smiling first. Then he stopped talking. He would wake up early, make coffee he never finished, stare at the wall for long minutes, and leave for work without saying goodbye. Ethan learned to pour cereal by himself. He learned to pack his school bag. He learned that crying didn't fix anything. At night, he climbed onto the roof of their small house and looked at the sky. He chose one star and decided it was his mother. "If you're there," he whispered, "blink twice." The star never blinked. Still, Ethan talked to it every night. At school, Ethan blended into the background. Teachers called him quiet and well-behaved. Other children barely noticed him at all. When they talked about their mothers helping with homework or packing lunches, Ethan smiled politely and stayed silent, pretending he belonged in those conversations. He didn't raise his hand. He didn't join games. He didn't complain. Once, a teacher asked him why he never volunteered to speak in class. He answered softly, "Because if I stay quiet, nothing bad will notice me." She laughed, thinking it was a joke. Ethan didn't laugh. At home, his father existed more than he lived. Sometimes late at night, Ethan would hear him crying behind the bathroom door, the sound of running water trying to hide the pain. Ethan never knocked. He sat on his bed and hugged his knees, learning a lesson he was too young to understand. Adults break too. On his 10th birthday, there was no cake, no candles, no song. His father forgot. Not because he didn't care, but because grief had taken up too much space in his mind. That night, Ethan wrote a letter. He didn't write it to his father, and he didn't write it to his mother. He wrote it to God. He wrote about how lonely the house felt, how quiet dinner time was, how much he missed being seen. "I don't want toys," he wrote. "I don't want gifts. I just want my father to look at me again. And if you can't fix him, please teach me how to stop needing him." He folded the letter carefully and hid it inside one of his mother's old books. He never sent it. Some prayers are too fragile to risk unanswered. Everything began to change on a rainy morning when a girl named Lily sat next to him in class. Her clothes were damp, her hair messy, her smile wide but tired. "You're very quiet," she said. "I know," Ethan replied. I talk enough for both of us, she smiled. Lily laughed loudly, asked strange questions, and noticed things others didn't. One afternoon, she asked him something no one ever had. If you could say one thing to the sky, she said, what would it be? Ethan didn't answer right away. His chest tightened. I ask, he said slowly, why it keeps taking people away. Lily didn't laugh. She just nodded. Yeah, she whispered, me too. For the first time, Ethan felt something shift inside him. Pain didn't feel so heavy when someone else carried a piece of it. For the first time in years, he felt a small, terrifying spark of hope. And even though he didn't know it yet, that hope was about to change everything. Ethan didn't realize how much Lily had become a part of his life until the day she didn't come to school. Her seat was empty. Too empty. At first he told himself she was sick. People got sick all the time. They came back. That's how life worked, at least that's what people said. But as the hours passed, the classroom felt quieter than usual, and for the first time Ethan felt the silence again. The old one, the heavy one. When she still wasn't there the next day, he felt something twist painfully in his chest. On the third day, he finally asked, "Do you know where Lily is?" He whispered to the teacher after class. The teacher hesitated, just for a second, but Ethan noticed. He always noticed pauses. She had to move, the teacher said gently. Family reasons. That was all. No goodbye. No explanation. No last laugh echoing in the classroom. That night, Ethan sat on the roof alone. He stared at the stars, anger replacing the sadness he was used to. His voice trembled as he spoke into the dark. "You promised," he said quietly. "You promised people don't just disappear." The sky, once again, had nothing to say. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Ethan returned to being invisible, but now it hurt more than before. Losing Lily felt different than losing his mother. That loss had been sudden and cruel. This one was slow, confusing, and filled with unanswered questions. Hope had entered his life quietly and left the same way. At home, his father was slipping further away. The silence between them stretched so long that words felt foreign. Sometimes Ethan wanted to scream, to shake him, to ask why they were both pretending everything was fine. But he didn't, because he was afraid of the answer. One evening, after dinner eaten in silence, Ethan finally spoke. "Dad, do you miss Mom?" The question hung in the air like fragile glass. His father's hands froze. "I don't know how to talk about that," he said, his voice hollow. Ethan nodded. He always nodded. That night, he cried into his pillow so his father wouldn't hear. He wasn't crying because Lily left, or because his mother was gone, or because his father felt like a stranger. He cried because he felt like he was disappearing too. Years passed. Ethan grew taller. His voice grew deeper, but the quiet stayed. He carried it into his teenage years like an invisible weight strapped to his chest. He stopped believing in stars, stopped talking to the sky, stopped writing letters he would never send. People around him smiled, laughed, fell in love. Ethan watched. He learned how to survive without needing too much, without hopping too hard. On his 17th birthday, his father finally said something that broke what little strength Ethan had left. "I'm sorry I wasn't there," his father said, staring at the floor. "I didn't know how to be your father after she died." Ethan wanted to tell him it was okay. But it was. "I needed you," Ethan said quietly, "every day." His father's eyes filled with tears, but the words came too late to fix the years that were already gone. That night, Ethan packed a small bag. He didn't leave a note. Some goodbyes hurt less when they are silent. He moved to another city for college, carrying nothing but memories and a heart that didn't trust happiness anymore. He avoided attachments, avoided closeness, avoided anything that reminded him how deeply loss could cut. Until one afternoon, in a crowded cafe, he heard a laugh. Too familiar. Too impossible. He turned slowly. And there she was. Lily. Older, different, but the same tired eyes, the same broken smile. For a moment, the world stopped breathing. She looked at him, confused at first, then shocked. "Uthan," she whispered. He couldn't speak. Years of silence rushed back all at once. "I thought you disappeared," he finally said, his voice shaking. "I thought you forgot me." Lily's smile faded. "I never forgot you," she said softly. "I was taken away." And in that moment, Uthan realized something terrifying. Some stories don't end when people leave. They wait. He didn't know how long they stood there, staring at each other as if the years between them were glass, thin, fragile, ready to shatter with one wrong move. The cafe noise faded into something distant and unreal. All Uthan could hear was his own heartbeat, loud and uneven, like it was trying to remind him that this moment was real. They sat down without really deciding to. 2 coffees arrived untouched. "I didn't choose to leave," Lily said finally. Her hands were wrapped tightly around the cup, knuckles pale. "My mother got sick, really sick. We lost everything, our house, our city, our life. I wasn't allowed to say goodbye. I didn't even know how to find you." Uthan swallowed hard. He wanted to be angry. He had practiced that anger for years, replaying imaginary conversations where he accused her of abandoning him. But now that she was here, all of it melted into something else, something softer and far more painful. "I thought I imagined you," he admitted. Like my mind made you up because I needed someone." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "I needed you too." They talked for hours, about the years they lost, about the people they became, about how pain had shaped them in different ways. Lily told him about hospitals and long nights, about growing up too fast. Uthan told her about the quiet house, the absent father, the letters to a God who never answered. For the first time, he didn't feel weak saying it all out loud. They began seeing each other again, slowly, carefully, like 2 people touching old wounds to see if they still hurt. They did. But now the pain was shared. Uthan found himself laughing again, real laughter that surprised him every time it escaped his chest. Lily sat with him on rooftops once more, even though the stars no longer felt magical. Sometimes they didn't talk at all. They didn't need to. Silence, for once, felt safe. But life doesn't heal in straight lines. One evening, Lily told him the truth she had been afraid to say. "I'm leaving," she said. The words hit him harder than anything before. "My mom needs treatment in another state," she continued, tears spilling freely now. "I can't stay. I never wanted to hurt you again." Uthan felt the old fear rise up, the familiar terror of loving something that could leave. He wanted to shut down, to pull away before it hurt too much. But he didn't. "I won't stop you," he said quietly. "I just don't want us to disappear again." Lily reached for his hand. "Then don't disappear." After she left, the nights felt long again, but different. This time, Uthan didn't run from the pain, he faced it. He started therapy. He wrote again. Not letters to God, but stories about grief, about silence, about children who learned too early how to survive. One day, his father called. "I read your book," Daniel said, voice shaking. I didn't know you were hurting that much." Uthan closed his eyes. "I was," he replied, "but I don't want to be any more." They met, they talked, they cried, both of them. It didn't fix the past, but it softened it. Sometimes forgiveness doesn't erase pain, it simply stops it from controlling your future. Years later, Uthan stood on that same roof. He looked at the stars again, not searching, not begging. Just remembering. His phone buzzed. A message from Lily. "I'm okay, I'm happy, and I still talk to the sky sometimes." Uthan smiled. He typed back, "Me too." For the first time in his life, silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like peace. And somewhere between loss and love, between goodbye and hello, Uthan finally understood something his younger self never could. Some people leave. Some pain stays. But healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means learning how to live, even when the sky stays quiet.